Okay. Good morning. I'm Sharon Francis with the Minority Business Assistance Center here at the Columbus Urban League, and we are here for part two for Launch Your Business with Customer Focused Marketing. And we are pleased once again to present to you Lindsay Sims, who's a Grow with Google coach for the state of Ohio. And she blessed us on yesterday, and I know she's going to take us to another level today. So we're not going to go through any further preliminaries. I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay. Lindsay?
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Okay, y'all. So you know the drill. If you could end the chat, since we got the chat for everybody, I would love for you to tell me who you are, where you're from. And I want to know this information mostly because what's really important to me is that I am giving you all the information that's going to be useful to you. So if you could share that information, make it so that, again, I can help you as much as possible. I would greatly appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump right on into it. So I will have the chat open, so go ahead and keep that chat going. I think most people, whenever I'm doing workshops, a lot of people ask me, how can you do the workshop and have the chat up and like also talk? And I'm like, look, it's practice. It's all it is. The ability for me to read what you guys are writing and still talk is just practice. So I would love for you to keep that up. And Nancy, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But Nancy has seen me do this for a few years now, but it's just practice. And so I want to jump right in because we have a lot to cover in the hour that we have together. And I want to make sure that I give you guys a ton of specific help. This is the second part of the workshop from yesterday, and I see that a bunch of you guys are repeat visitors from yesterday, which is great. That's what we want, so that you can get that second part. If for some reason you are brand new, we're going to go a little bit over what we talked about yesterday, but not much. So again, I'm Lindsay. Hi, nice to meet you. And I'm the Grow with Google coach for Ohio. And that just means that I have been charged by Google to actually go out in Ohio and spread all of the information about digital tools and helping you grow your businesses. And for all of you who are like, why would Google pay someone to do that? Because yes, I get paid. This is not free. The Columbus Impact doesn't pay me. They don't. Google pays me, and they pay me to do this because it is in their interest for you all to increase your skills. Like if we all learn and grow and get better at business, it actually does lift every boat. That rising tide actually does make us all better. And so this is really what the entire aim of this program is to make every single small business owner in Ohio better equipped to do their business. So that's what we're going to be aiming at. And of course, if you're in Texas or anywhere else, I am at this moment your personal Grow with Google digital coach. And that's all you need to know about that. So no matter where you are, I'm here to help. So there you go. So yesterday we talked about the top of the funnel, and then today we're going to talk about the bottom, which is where we convert people and we turn them into loyal customers. I am a huge fan of this aspect, although you have to do the first part first. Without doing the first part first, none of this matters. If you don't have attention, if you don't have awareness, if you don't have the ability for people to know what you do that's different or better than others, then you will never be able to convert them. We can't convert on air, meaning we can't convert people who don't exist. And we also can't convert people who don't already have some sort of affinity for us, some sort of liking, some sort of reason why they think they might want to choose us. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of that today. In proper fashion, we always start out with a quote. It is much easier to double your business by doubling your conversion rate than doubling your traffic. This is something that is so incredibly true. I have a student in one of my classes that I teach. I teach at Baldwin Wallace University here in Northeast Ohio as a professor. And one of my students has a family-owned restaurant. And I was talking to her. She wants to do her class project on her family-run restaurant. And she was like, well, we get so much business from word of mouth and we have so many loyal customers. We don't do much marketing and we are doing just fine. And I was like, oh, okay. I see what you're saying there, young lady, but I think you're missing one very important fundamental. You're doing just fine. And just imagine how well you could be doing if you actually tried. Like, it's amazing. When I said that, she was like, wait, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, like if you actually put the effort into marketing, even if you're doing really well without it, it's amazing what you can do if you actually try. And so that's kind of the idea here, is that it's so much easier to actually work with the people who are already in your funnel. They already love you, and actually try to get them to just do more business with you. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you are doing real estate. There's definitely, I know someone here now who is a real estate agent. There's a couple of people who are real estate agents here today. A lot of people think, oh, well, a real estate transaction is a one-time thing, or people only buy houses like twice in their lifetime. That isn't even true anymore, matter of fact. Most people are actually transitioning out of their houses after like 7 or 8 years. And that means that even a house purchase isn't a one-time thing. And on top of that, people will refer you if they feel like they have developed a relationship with you. And every single one of those super warm, this person helped me buy my dream home, or this person helped me sell my house referral is absolutely what you're aiming at. And that's what we're talking about with doubling down and actually converting on the people that we know, or the people that we're actually getting the attention of. So again, refresher for us from yesterday, all of marketing is these 3 steps. We're going to create meaning and storytelling. So we have to create meaning for people. Most people have some idea of what we do. They don't have a full idea of what we do. And so we create that meaning. We build trust. That's what happens in that second area, where we're really like focusing on answering their questions and helping them compare us to other people. And then we influence them so that once they do have some trust with us, we can help them figure out, well, we are the best option for them. We can help them figure that out, but only after we've built some trust with them. Okay. Yesterday, top of the funnel, reach and engagement, or awareness and consideration. Again, getting people to those questions that they have and answering them proactively. And then today we're going to talk about purchasing and advocacy. And then on our side, that's called conversion and loyalty, meaning we want people to convert where they give us their dollars. And then we also want people to become so loyal that they either come back repeatedly themselves, or they send people to us because they absolutely love what we're doing and they know it's worth it. And so that's what we have. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And for our example today, we're going to actually use Danny and Tracy. I think it's a mother-daughter duo who founded a company called Wicked Good Cupcakes. So yesterday we talked about TW Totes. We're going to use this as an example. And then clearly I am also going to use you all as examples. So that information you're providing me in the chat is always very useful. So for Danny and Tracy, mother-daughter duo, they wanted to take their business to the next level. So just like I mentioned before, the idea is I was doing all right, and we're doing just fine. And everything is awesome, except for that, you know, deep down that there's more. There's more for you. There's more for the business. There's more that you want to do. And so what they're doing is identifying the opportunities to make improvements. So they're looking at the reasons that they have to get people to come back. They're learning more about their customers. So yesterday I had you guys tell me who your customer was. Like, give me an idea of who your customer is. What kind of customer segments are you talking about? Especially those of you who are in like the wedding space or in the event space, I would even call it that. So what kind of events? Because there's like corporate events, and then there's weddings, and there's all these other types of events. There's all these events. A lot of you are event people today or yesterday. And when you look at your customers, we talk about knowing who those customers are, but on the conversion side, it's all about learning so much more about them so that you can get even better at serving them. So it's not necessarily learning more about them so that you can target them better. That's great. But what's really important is service, because often with your conversion and your loyalty, what's going to tip people over the edge is actually the service itself. And it's not that you have to give them the service before they pay. That's not what I'm saying. But if you give them enough information to know what kind of experience they're going to have, it makes a world of difference. So let's talk about paving the way to the purchase. The most important thing, paving that way. Now, when you look at your business, I want you guys to, in the chat, let me know what are the primary channels through which people can purchase from you. So that means, do they purchase via phone call? Do they purchase because you had a meeting with them and you sent them an invoice? Do they purchase because there is a button on your website that they can actually click the link on? There's the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Okay, so what are those ways that people purchase? What are those different actual purchasing behaviors that people can do for your business? I mostly want to know this because it's going to actually matter when it comes to that customer interaction. So some website, but you also do some in-person sales as well. So that's one way. So people can buy on the website. And for everyone who has web sales, if you have web sales for the majority of your business. I also want to know if you have large orders, if when people are placing large orders, do they place them directly with you, or do they place them using a phone, or can they place those large orders online as well? So when I say a large order, we talked about institutional buyers yesterday, or people who are buying for an event of 50 people versus just showing up one person at a time for something. So I'll use an example from my own space. For Eric's birthday, we actually did a virtual reality game with my whole family. And with virtual reality, the one that we went to, you had the opportunity to have you be like one. You can come in as one or two people and actually play together, or you can join a group of other people who are playing and just have it kind of be like a bunch of strangers that are all playing together. That's completely possible. Or you can basically rent out the entire space for like an hour for you and your group of 8. It doesn't matter which of those two options you choose. You have to use their online platform in order to book it. Now, if you want more than one session, though, so if you want something that's longer than 45 minutes or an hour, you have to call them. So if you have a corporate event and you want to be there for 3 hours or something like that, playing multiple games with different groups of people, then you have to call them directly so that you can book the space for a longer period of time for a bigger group of people. So that's why I'm like, what does it look like? Is it all exactly the same for everyone? Is that process exactly the same for every group of people who you work with, or is it different? In my business, it varies wildly. It probably is the worst thing about my business, actually, is that the purchasing ability for people varies wildly. So some people, it's very simple, single conversation. They want training. I have a document, the contract, they fill it out, complete it, and then they pay me and we get started. Other people, it's a much, much longer process. So it depends on what you do. And I want you guys to tell me. So you guys are giving it to me. Okay, good. Now, having that information in the chat, I'm going to use it now to talk about how we influence people. So since you guys are giving me all these great details, let's talk about what that looks like. For every single method of purchase you have to identify the key actions that can help someone get ready to make that purchase. That's the reason why I wanted to get clear on all of the ways that people purchase, because for every method that someone can use to purchase your stuff, you need to create essentially a conversion process for that method, whatever it is. So even when someone can just click the button online, you need an entire conversion process that identifies for you what they need to do in order to make that process happen. Why do you do this? Well, because it actually makes it a lot easier to communicate it if you have that process steady and normalized for yourself. And it also makes it a lot easier for you to give people extremely well-timed calls to action. So if you know that people can purchase via your website, then you might be able to have a button on your website where if someone has visited your website 3 times, and your website knows this because of IP addresses. So once someone has hit your website 3 times, they get a pop-up that says, "Are you ready to make your reservation?" And then that little pop-up has a button on it that takes them straight to the reservation page. So this is what I mean by identifying the key actions, but that only works if you have an idea of, okay, well, people visit my website several times before they actually make that purchase. And then for someone like Nancy, who has an app, Okay, great. There's an app, which means that people can find it in the App Store, quote unquote, organically. But we all know, everyone in here knows the last time you downloaded an app because you found it in the App Store. It very seldomly happens. The reality is that before you even get there, there's going to be an entire sequence of actions that are going to get you to that app store to download that app. Matter of fact, I'm the kind of person who doesn't download apps unless I'm being required to for an activity. And so often I really am not searching it out. I let the activity tell me what the app is that I need to download, and then I download it after they give me the prompt. And a lot of times I make them have that little button on their website. If they don't have the button that says, here, click here for your Android link, I'm like, I'm not even playing with you, because a lot of you don't have good Android apps, and I'm just not doing it. And so what you want to have, whether you are sending people from your website, or if you're sending people from social media, or if you're sending people from any of these places, first you want to know where you're sending people from, and then you want to have a really good set of calls to action that actually get people to do the behavior based on where they came from. So if they read a blog post, like Nancy is saying, then in the blog post, at the bottom of the blog post, you might want to have a couple of buttons that are like, are you ready to start your pain-free journey? And then have it be like, this is the one for Android and this is one for Apple. Like basically at the end of every blog post, especially if that's how you're getting people's attention. So that way, then we know we're pulling them towards a call to action. Now, of course, Nancy probably has a lot of other options, but that way we are streamlining it. We're making it make sense for people, because we're all lazy. Every single one of us are lazy. None of us is immune to the laziness bug. Most of us are hardcore. We business owners, we're like, I'm not lazy. Even we're lazy about something. It's kind of how I tell everybody that everybody's stupid, and people are like, don't say everybody's stupid. And I'm no, everybody's stupid. Like everybody though. Me, you, we're all stupid about something. There's something that we just don't understand, don't know, won't even try to learn. The same thing happens with that laziness factor. There are certain things that we are all extremely lazy about. And so when we know that that sort of thing exists, then that means that we need to, as business owners, we need to compensate for people's laziness and actually give them 85 different layers of how and like entry points, so that at any point when they're feeling a little bit less lazy, we can actually get them to take that action. That's really where that is. That's what I'm talking about there. Now, I want to also recognize that the word convert does not have to mean make a purchase. This is a key distinction. So for every single one of us here, the word convert doesn't have to mean make a purchase. There are plenty of other things that people can do that are conversion activities that will help you to know who's raising their hand and saying, I'm interested in your business. I'm not just using your website for research for my own company, but I actually am interested in your business. I'm interested in you. I'm interested in becoming a customer. I will use HubSpot as an example. If any of you have ever gone to HubSpot's website, HubSpot is amazing at this, and I actually had to email them and say, please change my settings in your system, because I am a HubSpot education partner. And I use HubSpot a lot to demonstrate things in classes that I teach at different universities and colleges across the region. And so as I'm doing that, HubSpot is looking at my repeated visits to their website and the fact that I've signed up to download this document here, or I downloaded this spreadsheet so that I could use it as an example of how to create buyer personas and for a class. I'm doing all of that. And those are all of those things for HubSpot are called micro conversions. They're all little tickers inside of HubSpot's tracking system that says, oh, she's raising her hand again. Oh, she's raising her hand again. She's very interested in HubSpot. And so once I started raising my hand a lot, HubSpot started sending me emails that were like, hey, this is something that you seem to be interested in. Are you ready to get started with us? They were sending me pop-ups on their website. They were doing all the things. And I had to tell them, I'm like, hey, literally emailed them back, because they have a person they assign to you essentially. emailed them back and said, I love you to death. You can stop emailing me. I am an education partner. You need to have like a little ticker in there that lets people know I'm not actually a customer. I'm never going to buy HubSpot. I am using you to teach people how to use you, right? And so that's how, you want to be thinking about your business. How can we essentially all be like HubSpot? Like, what are those little micro conversions for our own business? Every single one of us. So Nancy is asking a very good question. I was about to kind of ask you guys the same question, which is there a balance between those low level / micro engagements and the higher level engagements? And I would say it is going to depend on the purchase price and the lift of the product that you're selling. So if you are selling a product that has a lot of confusion around it, meaning people don't understand the product very well, or the product has a high dollar value. And when I say high dollar value, that is very specific to your audience. So there are some audiences for which $1,000 is nothing for your product, right? They would pay it without thinking. And then there are other people who wouldn't spend $100 on it because they don't care, because they're not your audience. So it has to be very specific about whether or not something is high dollar and based on your audience. I don't know if you guys are country music fans, but there's this guy who's Morgan Wallen, super popular right now. And he has a whole concert that's in Columbus, and the students were spending like $425 on single tickets to go to this concert after waiting in line, like waiting in a virtual line to get the tickets and all of that. And it's because they're fans, like they're high level fans. But the one engagement, to answer this question more directly, in order to get those students to actually give that $400 and sit in line in order to do it, they had to join an email list that was called their email waiting list. This is a very low lift. It's a very small micro engagement, and all of them did it. And a ton of people actually did it just to even know when the tickets went on sale, they joined the email list. So if you're looking at your business and you're thinking, what can I do that's a micro conversion? You might want to think about how you can interject moments of further information for people. So like that email list, in order to know when tickets went on sale, they were joining so that they could get specific information. For your business, what does that look like? So for Amy, who sells cake pops, she might have an email sign up, not for her newsletter, but an email sign up for when new cake pop designs come out. So that's all the email sign up is for. So sign up here to know when new designs become available, because they're making new designs all the time. So that would be a really good call to action that is a micro conversion, very specific to her audience. It costs them nothing. And everyone who joins that email list has already indicated that they care enough about cake pops to want to know when a different design is available. The funny thing about that is that anybody could follow her on Instagram and get that exact same information. But I bet you money, if Amy put that on her website, her email list would grow instantly. Because there'd be plenty of people who say, oh, I never see your post on Instagram, or I never see your post on Facebook. I'm just going to join the email list so that I always know what the new designs are. So for each of you, or specifically for Nancy, if you're looking at this and thinking, how do I balance it? Maybe if you know that people love the blog post, then you do have an email newsletter and you say, sign up for this very well thought out research, because Nancy's a PhD, this very well thought out research document about pain as it relates to kids. And if you're Nancy has a team now working with her, she could totally do that's funny. She could totally do a segmented email list where it's like, join this list if you have a kid who's under 10. Join this list if you have a kid who's between 10 and 15. And then join this list if your kid is over 15 years old. And then that way, again, she's using those email signups as a way to segment the population, to make that, remember we talked about yesterday, to make very specific offers to people. That way she'll also be able to get more conversions, because emails convert better than anything else, period. Even having a blog post with a little link at the bottom, doesn't convert nearly as well as email. And for all of us, I don't want any of us creating extra work. And so when we're talking about these actions, this is not to say now Nancy needs to write a new email newsletter. No, 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 no. Nancy has written hundreds of articles. I know this personally. She's written hundreds of articles. So all her email newsletter needs to do is like once a month, they can curate a list of the articles that are specific to those groups of people. And it could just be one article. They could say, this month, we're going to feature this one article that we wrote 2 years ago that everyone forgets about. The information is still applicable, and we're going to put it in an email and send it to the people who are in that age 10 to 15 for their kids. That's it. And that would be a really good low lift, very easy to accomplish. And then also in that email, add those calls to action. If you have not yet signed up, or if you have not yet downloaded the app, here's a link to download the app. That's it. That's a basic thing that can be included in every single one of those emails. So this is these are the types of conversions that we can do that are going to increase the likelihood that we'll actually get that purchase. It's just a matter of figuring out for your business what that looks like. So I'm looking at the mobile tea room. I'm looking at all these other business types and thinking, okay, what do you guys think that's going to be? Like for each of your, if I'm looking at Ella and you have 5 different ways that people can buy, what's the one thing that you can put right before any of those purchases to increase the likelihood that they will give you a raised hand and say, I'm interested, even if I'm not ready to purchase right now, or will simply increase the likelihood that they will actually convert. Okay. I love it. I love it. Okay. Very, 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 very useful for you guys if you think through it like this. Trials and demos. Demos are amazing for this. And for Ella, even if you think, okay, how can I do a demo for a mobile tea room? It's a video demo. You can just do a video walkthrough with people. For people who are like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I'm not sure. Like hop on a call and do a video walkthrough of the space. Oh my goodness. It would be amazing. And it's just a one-on-one YouTube video essentially. But that would be a way for people who have those corporate clients. I wouldn't do this for everybody. I would do this for the corporate clients, people who are going to like have that higher dollar commitment. That's when you do something like give them a mobile demo or an in-person demo. You can actually schedule them to come in and see the space themselves in person. So these are the types of things that are going to get you those. I'm raising my hand. I am interested in this. Now, when you do this, I know we have a few real estate agents in here. When you create these micro conversions, you have to be really careful that you don't create eventual time wasters for yourself. People will raise their hand and say, I'm interested in this thing. They'll do that. And then when the time comes to watch the demo or go to the meeting or open the emails, they won't do it. They will ignore your emails, or they will miss your phone call, or they will stand you up for a meeting. That is completely possible. So what I would encourage everyone here to do, regardless of your business type, but specifically if you have an in-person interaction with people, is protect your time, meaning that you want to be thinking through, how do I, instead of letting people determine whether or not I'm going to be there based on them booking the appointment, how do I get something that's going to be a commitment before I have to physically show up? Because otherwise people will stand you up. I have been stood up plenty of times in consulting meetings when my consulting was free. People would stand us up. And so we had to institute, I worked with the Small Business Development Center, and we had to institute a bottom of the list no-show, meaning that if someone stood us up, we would drop them to the bottom of the list so that they could only make an appointment after everyone else had been served, because we were not going to tolerate people doing no-shows. But you would have to figure out what that looks like for you, because I do not want you out here wasting your time, having meetings with people, like scheduling meetings for people who are not actually going to show up. Okay. Now, we talked about all of those like micro conversions. I gave you guys a lot of examples of like little ways that we can get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in knowing more about your business. I want to know when the next shape is going to come out, like whatever that thing is, right? So they're going to raise their hands for those things. And then what your job is from that point forward, even after you make this list that you guys have already made, like Ella gave me that list of different ways that people engage. The next thing is to find the ways to share timely calls to action. And I would say timely and specific calls to action. So this is where knowing your customer comes in extremely handy. And when we talked about it earlier, I said you got your customer profile, but once you get that profile, you really need to start interacting with them so that you can get to know them a little bit better. You can use your analytics on your website to do some of this work for you. You can use your analytics on your email to do some of this work for you. But let's pretend that you have analytics on your website where the website can track whether or not someone's IP address is coming to your website multiple times. Every single website that exists has the ability to do this, period. Whether you're doing it through Google Analytics or through Wix or through Squarespace, we all have the ability to do this. What you would do is use a basic pop-up software. It's basic pop-up software. Again, almost every single website out there has the ability to do these things. Either the pop-ups are built in or you can do a plug-in pop-up software, very easy to do. And you would set it to say, after someone has visited my site X number of times, or after they have visited these 3 pages, even if it's the same time, they visited all 3 pages at the same time, then give them this pop-up. So that would be the way to do that. So it's like, okay, I know that there are people who are going to be coming to my website multiple times. I don't necessarily want to offer them a deal immediately. I want to offer it to them after they have done X number of interactions on my web page. Or you can do like a lot of e-commerce businesses are doing nowadays. And I just had this happen to me yesterday, where they ask you immediately for your email address when you come to the website. They're like, sign up for our email and we will give you a free gift. So I signed up for an email on a website yesterday and I got a quote unquote free pair of socks with my purchase, which is obviously it's giveaway product. It cost them almost nothing to make those socks. And so they're like, if you buy this $160 pair of shoes, we'll give you a free pair of socks. And I'm like, honey, if I buy this $160 pair of shoes, you better give me more than a pair of socks. So but that was the call to action. I was willing. I'm like, I'll give you my email address for this pair of socks. But what happened after that was the part that is sharing that call to action that's timely. I dropped a pair of shoes in my shopping cart, and I didn't do this on purpose, even though this is a shopping strategy. I actually left the website because I ended up having a meeting and moved on and did other things. But then later in the day, I got an email from them with a 10% off coupon if I went ahead and made my purchase within a certain period of time. So that coupon is going to expire. But they are encouraging me to make a timely action by giving me a coupon code that expires. It does not go on forever. And they didn't send it to me until after I had put something in my shopping cart and left it there. That's timely. This is the timely part. So exclusive offers, invitations, offering these things up when someone is in the decision-making process is when you really want to do them. So if you are like Ella and Amy and a bunch of you other businesses where you have institutional or larger clients, you might want to, if you've been talking to someone for 3 months and they're like, oh my God, I really want to order your product, but they haven't done it yet, you might actually have a timer that you said, okay, this is the first time I talked to them was on the like February 2nd, and then it has been 3 months and they have not ordered. So maybe after 90 days of conversation, as long as they're still actively engaged with you, you offer them an exclusive, meaning I don't like discounts. Y'all, I don't like discounts. But the idea is maybe offer them, instead of a discount, maybe offer them an additional 10 cake pops if they place their order within the next 10 days. So there you go. Now you're offering them something that is exclusive to them. It's not a discount. They're still going to have to pay the regular price for the cake pops. So you're going to throw in extra cake pops just because, like you'll throw in an extra 10 that they can give to their family and friends. You don't even have to be, they don't have to be the branded ones. It could just be 10 free ones for them to eat. That's the kind of thing that ends up being an exclusive offer. And so again, for your mobile tea room or anything else that you're doing, if you have that high ticket, high dollar value, long decision-making process, offer something exclusive over time that says, okay, I want you to make that purchase right now. So this is what I'm going to offer if you make that purchase today. This is a way to get people to actually do the thing that you want them to do in the time frame that you want them to do it. But you have to be thinking about these things kind of in advance. And then I will say this is the last thing, because it is kind of the last thing, but it's probably the most important part, which is if you have an online purchasing process, especially if you have an online purchasing process for people who place bigger orders, maybe those institutional orders still go on your online platform, you want to check, double check, triple check, continuously check your actual purchase process. You would not believe how many people's websites crap out at weird little interactions, things that you're like, wait a second, why would that not work? Like, who knows, but it doesn't, right? So that's the problem. So I have one of my favorite stories about this is that I kept getting targeted with this dress on one of these random dress websites using Instagram. So they were targeting me and targeting me and targeting me. And I'm like, good Lord, I'm going to order the dress. It was such a beautiful dress. I was down. Let's do it. I'm going to order the dress. Click on the website, see the dress, picked out my size, picked out the color that I wanted. And when I went to swipe up to go to the, like, add it to cart, the website wouldn't swipe. It literally wouldn't move. It was stuck. And I thought, oh, wow, this is weird. I closed out the browser, like closed out that tab, went back through the history, went back into the website, did the whole process again, and the swipe up still didn't work. And so I literally could not add the product to my shopping cart. Couldn't do it. So despite the fact that I had decided that I wanted this dress, I could not buy it because it wasn't working. And of course, I'm not going to pull out an entire computer in order to make this transaction. It's not going to happen. And by the time I got to a computer the next day, I was not thinking about this anymore. And so they totally lost out on the money. And it has been several months since then. I couldn't even tell you what the website is now that happened on. And so it is a very unfortunate lost interaction. But this sort of thing happens often with our e-commerce sites, and it can be just a really simple bug in the mobile responsiveness of your site that would be really easy to fix, but you don't know it's happening. And if you don't know it's happening, then, this is a problem. And I have had this happen now with people's calendaring software, where their calendaring software wasn't working. So I went to make an appointment and I couldn't make an appointment because their software didn't work. I, tried to do a checkout and I tried to add something to my cart after I had added something else to my cart, and it wouldn't add the second thing to the cart. Please check your purchase process, because if your purchase process is broken, you could be losing customers and not even realize that you're losing them. Like, you don't know, because if they're not friends of yours, they're not necessarily going to say something to you about it. Your customer purchase process should be so easy and so simple that anyone can do it at any given point in time with any level of technical knowledge or lack thereof. That's what we need to be aiming at with our purchase process. Now, I did already mention Google Analytics, because Google Analytics is your very good friend when it comes to just about any of these things. Because I've said, if you know that people are coming to your website 3 times, or if a lot of us won't know that unless we are using something like Google Analytics. It is completely free, very much worth your time, and it is a way for you to actually see what people are doing. You can see where they're coming from. You can see how long they're on your website. You can see which pages they're going to from one page to the next. You can see if they're adding things to the shopping cart, if you have the ability for people to do e-commerce on your website. And then for all of us out here who have complicated buying processes, if you're a consultant or something like that, where you have to actually send out contracts or you have to send out proposals and things like that, I actually use Google Analytics on my proposals. So I put the code into my proposal documents, I put the code into my downloadables, things like that, so that I can actually see when people are actually using it. So it's not just a matter of saying, wow, I hope that someone opened up that document. No. I'm using the Google Analytics code to see whether or not someone clicked from one place to the next, and then whether or not they actually clicked on the document that I sent them. All of these transactions can be tracked inside of Google Analytics very easily. And so you want to be looking at that. And then once you decide what those conversions are, so I'm going to go back a few screens so that we can look at what the conversions look like again. Every single one of these conversion types that you have, you could add some sort of goal or conversion inside of Google Analytics. So for your email sign up, so if you are Amy who stopped everything and went to her website to add that little join our email list to learn what the new shapes are, if you went ahead and did that, then you would add your conversion code to the thank you page that happens after someone signs up for your email list. So if you have a page on your website where someone signs up, and you can do this with MailChimp, you can do this with Flowdesk, just about any email marketing software, you create the sign up form and then you create a thank you page. That thank you page is where the code goes that's going to tell your Google Analytics. So let's get back to analytics. That's where you're going to say to Google Analytics, if someone lands on this thank you page, they have signed up for my email list. That's how you know they did it, because you created a thank you page that's just for them. You know, they wouldn't be able to get to that thank you page unless they signed up on your email list. There's nowhere in your navigation for it or anything like that. So the only way someone lands on that thank you page is if they signed up for your email list. That's how you know you got a conversion. So you can use that. And of course, your email marketing software is going to have those emails in it. But if you use your Google Analytics to track it, you can track it in multiple ways. Like you can track through from your website. You can track through from any of the places where people might have come from. You can even track from a Google search all the way through to that conversion if you're using a Google Analytics. Now, again, cheat code. You guys, even if you're not using Google Analytics, almost every website has the ability to do this sort of thing now. Almost everyone. I would not encourage you to rely on your website's data, because most websites don't have any incentive to be like fully transparent, honest, and keeping that information up to date. So if they have glitches, you'll never know. Versus with Google Analytics, they have every incentive to keep the information as clean and crisp and useful to you as possible. And so they're definitely, it's the gold standard. Even enormous multinational corporations use Google Analytics. Everybody uses it. It is the gold standard, and it is completely free. So I would highly encourage you to do that as well. And then lastly, if you are going to, before we kind of get into that loyalty aspect of it, if you're going to do all of this stuff and actually get your conversions tight, and you're going to have your top of the funnel and all these things kind of working together, after you've done all of this, after you figured out what your calls to action are, after you have created your thank you page for your email sign up and all of that, then you can think about doing advertising. And if you have your Google Analytics set up and all these things are already set up, you're going to be able to track everything your ads are doing. So if your ads are performing well, if they're performing poorly, all of it you'll be able to track. But only if you're actually setting everything up properly first. So I do not encourage people to do ads out of the gate just to start getting traffic, just to start getting business. I don't encourage that. What I want you to do is have everything set up and making sure that it's running first, making sure your conversions are running, making sure your pages are working, making sure your checkout process works, making sure that you have that nurture sequence available for people already. And then you can do advertising, because you'll be advertising into a system that is complete and whole. Versus if you start doing advertising before you actually get your systems in order, you will be advertising and people will be dropping off or dropping out of your funnel, and you won't know why or where, because you haven't created a completely contained system first. So create that completely contained system first and then send people into it, instead of trying to send people then pay to send people into it, because you definitely are going to be sending people into your funnel for free organically, but you do not want to be paying the internet to get people into your funnel if you got holes in it where people are going to fall off because their website doesn't work after they do X transaction, or because there's no analytics to track their behaviors and there's no way to give them the right pop-up at the right time. Get all that stuff in line first and then do your advertising. So quick little brainstorm. It's not going to really be a brainstorm so much as I want to hear from you guys, since I haven't asked a question in a minute. what micro conversion activity are you thinking you want to do for yourself? So what's something that we talked about, a ton of things. What's something that you think you could do as a micro conversion for your business? Something that happens before they make a purchase. So what's that look like? And if you could get specific and tell me which of your audience members this is for, like which of your audience segments, I would love that. So what does that look like? Go ahead, drop it in the chat. I'm going to move on to talk about loyalty because we only have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure we talk about loyalty before we go. So drop in the chat, what's your conversion activity and who is it for? Now, after you get people to buy your stuff, after you have given them this wonderful experience, after all of that has happened, then the next thing that we're going to do is actually help them to become loyal customers. We're going to develop a long-term, ongoing, sustainable relationship with them. This is where we get to have fun. In all reality, to me, this is the fun part. Developing loyalty programs is fun. You can offer value to people that is not necessarily based in money, like you don't have to actually spend dollars. You can offer value without dollars. You can offer incentive programs. You can also encourage community. There's all sorts of things that you can do to increase loyalty. One of the reasons why you want to do loyalty is because it gives you a lot of opportunity for feedback, right? So if you're staying in touch with people, then you get to actually help them to have a really good experience with whatever it is that you're selling. So oftentimes, you know, we always say that you're only as good as your last, whatever the thing is. So you're only as good as your last workshop, your last event, your last batch of cake pops. You're only as good as your last download. None of that's true. But the reality is that a lot of people's perception is based on their most recent interaction with you. So if you are developing a loyalty base or a loyalty program, it gives you more opportunities to interact with your customers, which is going to increase the likelihood that you're going to have high customer satisfaction. People are really weird. And so if you do increase those touch points, and actually after they've made purchases, you give them high quality touch points, not just, hey, here's an email, I exist, but like being very targeted and specific based on the things that they purchased, asking them for feedback and improving based on their feedback, surprising and delighting them in unexpected ways. All of these sorts of things actually improve your relationship and increase loyalty. So that is what we want to be doing. We want to be increasing loyalty. One of my favorite ways to do this for all of my customers, even considering what I do for a living, it's something that it's weird that I love doing it so much, but we have like VIP customers. We have an entire VIP email list that those people actually get different emails than everybody else who is on our list. And it's not that they get different, like crazy different emails, but I will tell you one thing that we do as a sustained loyalty activity is that the people who are on our VIP list routinely get access to our workshops without having to register. So when I do workshops like this, or, you know, the ones that I do for myself, mostly the ones that I do without a partner, I will just give them access to it. I'll say, here's the link. All you have to do is click it and you'll be able to get into this workshop without registering. That's huge. And it actually makes it a lot easier for them to get in. Why do I do that? Well, I already know who they are. I don't need them to register. I have their email address already. And so for those people, I'm like, hey, I already know who you are. I know that you are going to come and contribute and be a valuable member of the audience. Here's the link. You don't have to register. That is a really weirdly good way to offer it. Something is completely exclusive. It costs me $0 to do. We don't do it for every single workshop, again, because some of the workshops are workshops with partners, but I do it for a decent number of my workshops, and it just makes the experience for those VIPs a little bit easier. If you do have, if you have, thinking about some of you who have event products, if you have leftovers or if you have open space, so let's say you are in the middle of a slow season, you can offer your VIPs a discount if they book during your slow period. So this isn't even, at that point, it's not even an ongoing discount. It's sort of like that 10% off coupon that I got that only lasted for a few days. This is like that, except for that the whole point of it is for you to make money in a time where you wouldn't normally make very much money. So you're like, this is not wedding season right now. So if you want to book a tea party for you and your little girls, like your Girl Scout troop, as a reward for them selling all those cookies, then I will give you a 10% off discount for booking if you book and host your event within the next 10 days. That will make you money. People will do it. They will do it. They will do it. If you light urgency under people, it's amazing what they will do. And that is something that you would not offer to everybody. You would specifically say, hey, you are a VIP, you're a repeat customer, you're someone who I already have a relationship with. I'm going to offer you this opportunity to book this space right now for this price. These types of discounts can go out just to a handful of people, or maybe even just one person. And then having those personalized programs. Personalizing things is always very, very useful. The more personalized it can get, the better. So this is the point at which you're going to email an individual person and offer them something very specific. But that way they are going to feel like an absolute rock star. They're going to be like, oh my God, they actually thought about me. Like, that's what you want, right? 92% of customers, they trust word of mouth. They ask for it. They ask, still to this day, the number of things I see on Facebook on a daily basis where someone is like, I really need a local plumber. And I'm like, people still do that? They do. I need a local plumber. I really want someone who can come in and fix my HVAC system. They're not necessarily Googling that. They're asking for word of mouth because that's what people really want. And it increases the retention rate. So 37% higher retention of customers that are referred by someone who they know. So if we can get people to become loyal and say, oh, wow, you don't know how well that program, I mean, like, Amy, she treats her customers so well. After you become a customer of Ella, you're never going to want to do anything else. After Linda has given you, or Lisa has given you all of the skincare treatments there are, she also becomes like your personal esthetician on the internet. Like, there's all sorts of things that people will do if you build that relationship with them. They'll give you case studies, they'll give you testimonials, they'll refer people, they will help you promote your own contest. Like, there's all these things that are available once you actually develop that advocacy. Now, for every single one of us, hopefully you already have a Google business profile. And if you do, getting reviews on your Google business profile is another way to significantly increase the likelihood that people will buy, because those reviews, they act a lot like word of mouth. They're not as effective, but they are very close. And with your reviews, you absolutely do want to respond, especially to the like positive ones. I will remind everyone, please do not respond to trolls. Please do not respond to trolls. Please do not respond to trolls. So if you have great reviews, respond to those great reviews, but do not respond to trolls, okay? Don't do it. Just don't. But absolutely sharing, like, thank you so much for coming in. And if you yourself personally did not have an experience with that customer who wrote a review, but somebody else in your business did, maybe have that person write the response so that it seems even more personal, right? Making that very, very personal. Okay, so Yulia, you asked a very good question, which is, how do you get reviews? The absolute best way to get Google reviews is to ask for them. But to ask for them in a format where people can actually provide them and as close to the time of service as humanly possible. So if you have an e-commerce business, before the person even gets their product, you want to ask for a review. Then after the product is shipped and you know that they have gotten it because you have tracking. So if you have the ability to do this, almost every software does. After they have received their item, you send them immediately an email that says, here, place a review. Like, here's a link to our Google review, and go and review. You can get that link directly inside of your Google business profile. There's a little short link available right where your reviews are. So then you can ask a review immediately. I had a HVAC person come into my house last year when our air conditioning unit went down. They had 3 times where they asked me for reviews. 3 times in the first week after service, and then once within a month after service. It was genius. And they asked me for reviews on different platforms. So the first ask was for Facebook. Can you give us a Facebook review? And it was a link directly to Facebook from that email. And then the next one was a text message that was like, hey, have you reviewed us on Google yet? And I got that. And I personally did the review on Google. And then the next one was an email asking me if I had done the review on Google. I forwarded that email to my fiance and had him do a review on Google, because we did actually receive, the service was so outstanding that I absolutely was willing to do a review on every platform they asked for. And then like a couple months later, they asked one last time, they were like, let me just make sure that you had the opportunity to review us and that you loved it and everything. And I was like, already done multiple times, every platform you got. All of those were automated messages. Every single one of them. So it was just a matter of, once the purchase was completed, they have an email sequence that goes out and asks for reviews. You have to ask, because people are not going to do it without you asking them to. They really won't. People will give you unsolicited bad reviews, but they very rarely will give you unsolicited good reviews. Most people are only going to give you reviews if you request it. So you have to ask, okay? So who can be an advocate? Who can offer reviews? Anybody, actually. Everyone can be an advocate. Your customers can be advocates, employees, partners, vendors. Please use your vendors, use your partners. So I am going to ask Sharon to be an advocate for me from this point forward, of course, because she's now sat in 2 workshops with me. She is a partner. The Columbus MBAC is a partner, and I want them to be advocates for me and go out into the world and tell people how great this was, right? But you can also work with affiliates and influencers. There's all sorts of people who can be advocates for you. You want to make sure that you're using tools that are going to help you manage that advocacy process. So something like a CRM, using your website analytics, but that is something, again, that happens after you've gotten the processes in place, is when you're going to do that. Now, I want you to outline your loyalty program. You don't have to do that right now, but make sure that you have some sort of idea of what that looks like for your business, how you're going to get loyalty from people. So before I let you go, I know Sharon is like, it's 1 o'clock. You guys know, I have a meeting after this too. So I want to know in the chat, what did you learn? Go ahead, put it in there. What did you learn? Go ahead, put it in the chat. I always want to know what you guys got out of this workshop, what you're getting out of the workshops, what you're learning. I want to make sure that I'm actually contributing and that you're getting something from this hour of time that we spend together. So drop that in the chat. I will stop sharing because this is basically my last slide. But thank you. Oh, wait. Thank you so much. Wrong share. Stop sharing. There we go. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your participation in the chat. It's been very, very useful. I love it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Once again, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm screenshotting all of your slides because I've got plenty to go back and review. And of course, these sessions are being recorded, so they will be available to you all who have participated. So thank you again for joining us. We are looking forward to seeing you again on tomorrow, same time, same station. We'll be dealing with selling online with e-commerce tools. So again, thank you. I've learned a lot. And after this, hopefully, once you sign up, you should be able to give some feedback with regard to this presentation as well, for the purposes of being back. And yes, I am an ambassador, Lindsay, already talking about you. So everyone, thank you so much. And to all of our clients that chimed on today, we appreciate your support as always. See you tomorrow. Be well.